Hey guys, what's up? It's Brianna. Today I wanted to make a whole video about my entire study abroad experience. When I was getting prepared for studying abroad, I didn't see many of these videos. I think there might be a lot more now, but I didn't know what to expect. Nobody really went in depth of what happened. They kind of just had their vlogs and not really like their entire experience, the good, the bad, the ugly. So I studied abroad my fall semester sophomore year. I went to Madrid with USAC, so it was 4 months long. I left August 27th and then I came home December 19th, 2018. This is going to be more my experience, not the whole background application process and stuff. So if you wanted to know more about that, I actually have a video about how I did that, like how I'm studying abroad as a sophomore nursing major and all of that. So you can check that out, and I give more information about how I applied and how I chose my program and everything. I think that sums up everything, so we're just gonna get into the video. First off, I wanted to talk about the summer before studying abroad, and that's when I was the most nervous. Before it was just excitement, and then it got real. Like the next time I'm going to school, I'm going to be abroad. I'm not going to be at like school. I'm going to be in Spain where it's very, very different. I had some fears leading up to studying abroad like anybody else would have. I was scared that everyone was already going to know each other, because when I got the list of everyone that was in my program, mostly everybody was from California or they're from the same exact university. I was like, oh my god, they're all going to know each other. I'm gonna know nobody. They're all gonna have roommates together and then I'm going to be like left alone. But that was definitely not the case. Another one of my fears was that I wasn't gonna have a group of friends, which definitely not the case either. I got a lot of friends and it was so easy to make friends. Everybody else was willing to make friends. I also was scared about my roommates. I didn't figure out who my roommates were or where I was living literally until a day before I left, like a day before my flight. So I had no preparation for this. I was just like, hey, I guess this is where I'm living. I don't know. Oh wait, I didn't even know who my roommates were. I just got my address. Figure out my roommates until the first day when I kind of like asked around. So that was so stressful, waiting for my roommates. I don't know. I'd much rather have known my roommates way beforehand so I could have talked to them more, which I got lucky since I was really, really close to my roommates and I love them. Another thing I was so stressed about was packing. I have a whole video on what I packed for studying abroad, so I'll link that down below or in the video. I honestly think I did a good job. I mean, I packed a lot, but also I wore all my clothes. I felt like everything I packed was necessary. I think I did pretty well. There are things that you could definitely have bought there, and I bought a little bit. I bought a good amount of clothes when I was there. Kind of screwed me over in the end, which I'll talk about later. I packed 2 suitcases, a carry-on, a backpack, and a small suitcase. As for the days leading up to departure, like the day before, I was like, I don't think I want to study abroad anymore. Like, can I go back to school? Like, this is just too much for me. And I was so stressed out. Leading up is all the most nerve-wracking, exciting, stressful part, but I feel like it's all worth it in the end. As for the first week, definitely interesting. The first week is usually filled up with orientation. I forget how many days our orientation was. Sorry. One day we had a tour of our campus, another day we had a tour of the city. We also had an orientation day where we were just like in a classroom and oh, it was in the hotel, yeah. A meeting area in the hotel, and they just went over all the basic things like culture shock, how to get around the city, how to use the metro, how to get to school, emergency numbers, all of that. So it's just a rundown of everything that's happening. We also got our apartment and who our roommates were. We also had a student from the university that showed us around our whole entire area. So everybody lived in basically different areas of the city. The only way I can describe it is you kind of just told people where you live by your metro stop. So I was living in La Lipa. The student showed you where the pharmacy was, they showed you where the grocery store was, they showed you where bus stops and the metro stop were. They kind of just gave you a general idea of where the most important things were, and it was pretty helpful, and they gave you a tour of your apartment. The landlord came and gave us a tour of our apartment, like, you know how when you get a new apartment they kind of teach you how things work, and everything's in Spanish, so kind of just had to figure things out. It was also the most stressful part because everything is in Spanish and I still hadn't gotten acclimated to everything being in Spanish. Still didn't know much Spanish at all. That was that. But then at night we would go out. My whole entire program had a group chat, so we all just like text each other what plans were, what we were doing that night, and then we'd all meet up, and it was pretty fun. Like, I think that was the best week to make your friends and just get some bonds. So definitely saying yes to things you wouldn't usually do is the right way to go, because that's what I did. I was dealing with a lot of anxiety about a lot of things, which is totally normal, and I just found myself like forcing myself to say yes. I knew I didn't want to regret anything in the future, and I just say yes. That's all I have to say. And take risks, do things you wouldn't normally do. Next topic I wanted to talk about is school. So I went to a university in the city. It was pretty small, I didn't really spend much time there because we don't live on campus, we live away from campus. I'm pretty sure my commute was maybe like 30-45 minutes. I would take the bus because I only had to do a transfer and then I was there on campus. Some people took the metro, but my metro station was like a 15-minute walk, and I was not doing that in the morning. So I only took one class. It was 5 days a week and it was 3 hours. If I remember correctly, it's 9:45 to 12:30, somewhere around that area. I'm pretty sure. I would wake up pretty early, get on the bus, go to class, and then I'd never come back. I got it done pretty early in the morning. I got 3 credits, but even though I took one class, the classes only lasted a month. So there was 4 months, so I took 4 different classes, so I gained 12 credits out of the whole entire thing. Some people took more classes. This was like a Spanish track, but then there was also like art classes, dance classes. Some people had more classes throughout the week, but I just had that because I was taking 2 online classes with my university. So yeah, I got a lot out of it and I didn't really have to do much. I think I might have been one of the only people taking only the track classes, which is just learning the language. My class was pretty intensive. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's only a month long. We had homework every single day. My track was called Track 2, so I was in intermediate Spanish. So we'd have to read a book, write papers, and do workbook pages. This would all be in one night, so I'd have all of that every single day, even over the weekend. Sometimes I'd have to do homework Saturday and Sunday, and all of our papers and stuff were emailed to our professor so she could see the time and she could edit them. We'd have journal entries where we had to write like a little about what we did over the weekend, so if we did traveling. Yeah, so it was very intensive, but also at the same time it was easy to get done. I mean, I got it done, I traveled, I did a lot, I would go out a lot, like a lot, and I still got everything done. I still passed all my classes. I know traveling while doing homework is a big thing when studying abroad, and to be honest, I think it was pretty easy. It's actually funny because my friends would be like,
"Does she even go to school? I don't see her ever in class."
And I'm like, well, I go to school and by the time you would wake up, because of time differences, I'm already done class. I'm already like exploring the city. Having my classes end at 12:30 just gave me so much time throughout the day. Usually after class, I would go to the bakery or go shopping, which is dangerous, but I would do it. Go get tapas. As for my class was 5 days a week, which was terrible. The upper tracks only had classes 4 days a week, so they would have Friday off, which was so lucky. They could leave for their trips on Thursday nights. It's all about timing because flights get so much more expensive over the weekend, so I would end up skipping class sometimes. I would skip 2 days of class, but I still passed all my classes. I think the worst track that I did was my 4th class. I got like a C, but that's still passing. I still got my credits for the class, so I don't know. I know specifically one time I was in Amsterdam and we had to go to a coffee shop or brunch or something, and we just had to sit there and write our journal entry, like me and my 2 other friends, because there's only 10 people in my class, but I happen to have 2 friends in the same class as me. Here comes like a bad part, I would say. I don't know. I didn't really like school. I felt like I had problems with my professor and we didn't get along, kind of. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't really want to get into it, but it kind of made me upset. I think that's the only time I experienced some type of culture shock, but this leads into talking about culture shock, and this is like a huge thing that they talk about when studying abroad. There's even a graph thing that they show you. I'll put it up on the screen. Very common, I feel like. I don't know if I really experienced that. Like I said, I think the only time I experienced that was those problems with my professor and stuff were going on. It made me really upset. I just feel like a lot of things were happening in my favor. I really loved it there, so I didn't really experience any culture shock. I liked the differences. I like hearing Spanish all the time. I like kind of being challenged, even though I had a hard time speaking Spanish because I was so nervous about it, but a lot of the locals are so nice about it. I don't mind having that little bit of discomfort because it gave me a perspective and it taught me something. I just like to give myself different experiences that maybe other people wouldn't have. I just like learning more hands-on. I love Madrid so much. I just didn't want to leave. I went to so many places. I feel like I know so much about the city now because I was constantly traveling to different places, trying to go to as many events around the city as possible. I love the metro, I love the bus, I love how easy it was to get around. Everything was so clean, everyone was helpful. I just got a really good appreciation for their culture. I'm obsessed with Spain and I love it there so much. I wish I could go back. I just feel like I got to know the ins and outs of somewhere that I never would have known, and I just got such an appreciation for the city and how much I'd much rather live in a city. Even when I traveled, I wanted to go back. I was like, I just want to go back to Madrid. I miss it. I miss her, I miss my home. And then it goes into travel, which is the biggest part. Everybody wants to travel when they're studying abroad. Everybody wants to go to different countries. I mean, as for if you're studying abroad in Europe, it's more common to go to a bunch of different areas. I think I went to 7 countries. I don't know, maybe like 12 cities, something like that. I went to a lot of places in Spain because I love Spain. I wanted to see as much of Spain as possible. I went to Malaga, Sevilla, Barcelona, Gran Canaria. I'm definitely missing somewhere. Oh, Toledo. There's somewhere else I'm missing with an S. But I went to a lot of places in Spain. I just wanted to see the whole area. I also went to the Netherlands, France, Italy, Denmark. Why do I have the worst memory? I just visited some places twice. I went to 2 places in France, a bunch of places in Spain, like I said. For traveling, everything was so last minute for us. We would plan things probably 2 weeks beforehand. The only thing that we did way beforehand was our trip to Copenhagen because we wanted to do Tivoli Gardens and see that area during the Christmas time, which was so worth it even though it was so cold. In school, you do get a calendar of when you're having exams. So I had like 4 midterms, 4 finals, so I always had to be in class those times. They would not give you an excuse. Like if you were missing for traveling, like you were just going to fail unless you had a good reason. As for the cost, I feel like I expected things to be a lot cheaper than what they were. This also goes into that my classes were 5 days a week, so I didn't have much wiggle room unless I skipped class. Then I could get a good price, but other than that, it was usually like maybe like 125 euros for the whole entire trip just for the flight. And then we'd stay at hostels. I'll get into that. Hostels or Airbnbs, I mean, they interchange. Hostels are usually in a better location and they're cheaper, usually with a lot of people. The Airbnbs are usually just far away when they're cheaper. So you just have to think about if it's worth it to get Ubers everywhere. But the cost was definitely the most surprising part because I thought I was gonna get all these cheap deals. The only cheap deal we got was our flight to France, which was 21 euros, which was so amazing. We had to go. Some places are way more expensive than others. Italy, Greece, popular destinations. So I'm going to talk about the hostel thing. There's good and bad. In Barcelona, I had the best experience in a hostel. I felt like it was so much fun. We went for Halloween. It was like the greatest time. There was such cool people. People were crazy in that hostel, let me tell you. Oh god, that's a different story. They had like bar crawls and different tours that you can get on, and they're usually free and they just take you around and it's so much fun. But then there's the bad. Like my trip to Amsterdam, we found out that the beds had bed bugs. Ugh. And we didn't know because my one friend saw it in her bed, and oh my god, it just skeeves me out. Like, ew, 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 ew. Because we didn't read the reviews that intensely. I guess we were just looking at how cheap it was, and we booked it, and then we went, and then we experienced that. They even kind of ignored it when she showed him the picture about it, and he was like,
oh yeah, that is a pet dog.
and she was like, so, and nothing came out of that. Also, creepy men in there. I had to sleep with my friend in a bed that was smaller than a twin bed. I swear to God, smaller than a twin bed. And we slept in it in this little bunk area, like together, because I didn't want her near that creepy man. I definitely have a lot of interesting stories from a lot of different places, which are all just too long for this video. But as for the departure, I was so sad. So many people were like, no, I really want to go home. Like, I'm done. Like, I want to see my family. I want to go home. And blah blah blah. But for me, I was like, I literally do not want to go home. I love it here. They give you options to extend your stay, but it really wasn't possible for me. That's not how it was going to work for me. I couldn't extend my stay, but I would have done it in a heartbeat. I loved it there so much. I had the best experience ever. Just going to the airport was like the saddest day. I just kept crying. I was like, no, I'm going to miss everyone. And I was like one of the only people from the East Coast, so they were all going on their group flight home, so they'd see each other on the plane, but I was just like the opposite way. I was like, goodbye. I had my carry-on bag, and they looked at it and they were like, no, you can't use it as a carry-on bag. And I got so upset. They're just so annoying. Like, my suitcase could have fit, but no. They charged me $100 for my suitcase for having to check it. And I was just so upset. Like, I had to do it. Like, there was nothing else I could do. My suitcases were packed to the brim. I would say be a little bit more cautious if you're gonna buy a lot. Everything fit though. That's the thing. Everything fit in my suitcase. For some reason, they were just being so rude about my suitcase being too big, even though it's a literal carry-on size. That was just a bad part ending the trip. So going home wasn't bad. Being home was fine. I mean, it's weird, like when you come home and suddenly there's Chick-fil-A, which I love Chick-fil-A, and everything is in English, which is kind of weird. And like hearing people speak English, it's like you notice it a lot more. Like, oh my god, I can understand what everybody is saying around me. It's a little too much. Like, my brain is overloaded. I bet it's gonna explode. I always want to say hola to people when I walked in a store, but I had to hold myself back because that would just be weird if I said that. Reverse culture shock is another big thing, which I feel like hit me a lot worse than like the actual culture shock. Like at home, I was fine, but when I got back to school, everything had changed a lot. It was definitely the worst part about my experience. You definitely need to take care of yourself during this time because it is like intense. Everything changes, not even just like outside, but like friendships change and you just miss out on things that are happening. So that was hard for me to accept. Even though I was having the time of my life, it just still kind of sucks when you get back, even though you might not care that much. Basically, that's my whole entire experience. Everything that happened, mainly. I mean, I have to leave out a lot or this video will be so long, but that's the general gist of everything that went down. I hope you learned something from this. I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions about studying abroad, anything, literally leave them down below and I will be happy to answer. And don't forget to check out those other videos in the description. So thank you for watching and I'll see you in my next video.